Cork, and I just want to say thank you for being with us tonight. I'd like to do one other introduction, not from the District Attorney's Office, but many of you will remember Chief Dan Stump from the Spring-Sperry Township Police is with us tonight as well. And so I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are very appreciative to the District Attorney, Dave Sunday, for all of his support several weeks ago, and that support continues through today and tonight with the presentation here. It's just a little past 6:30. The plan will be for us to go for about an hour and 5, hour and 10 minutes, and then we'll certainly be happy to answer individual questions if you'd like to come down front. We'll be respectful of your time, but our plan is to go for just a little bit over an hour. A lot of information to share, but again, I want to turn it over to Dave Sunday and say thank you on behalf of the Central York School District for tonight.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Dr. Snell. I appreciate it. Thank you to the members of the school board that are here. Thank you for, can everybody hear me? I kind of talk loud to begin with. I probably don't even need the microphone, but so I'll kind of move back a little bit. But thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. We put this together as a informative evening. Our goal is to give you as much information as we possibly can. When it's over, if anyone has specific questions, we'll be more than happy to stick around and we'll talk to you. We're very lucky tonight, and one thing just to let you know, most people don't ever really get to see a lot of our assistant district attorneys because the DA kind of hogs it. And so it's wonderful to have an opportunity to showcase a lot of the amazing talent and intelligence and awesomeness that we have in the York County District Attorney's Office. And in particular tonight, we have with us Assistant District Attorney Teresa Howdeggy. And so I asked Teresa to give me a bio to read tonight so I can tell everybody who's going to be talking to you. And so she sent me one, so I'm going to read her bio and then I'm going to ad-lib just a tad. All right. Teresa is a graduate of Middlebury College and Northeastern University School of Law. Throughout law school, she worked with the cybercrime and economic crime squads at the FBI Boston Field Office. She was a full-time legal intern with the U.S. Attorney's Office Cybercrime Unit in Boston throughout her final year of law school. Upon graduation, she was a prosecutor for the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. She joined our office here in York County in the fall of 2016. Teresa is a member of the York County District Attorney's Office Special Crimes Unit, where she prosecutes sexual, child, and elder abuse crimes. And so we have an expert here with us. Teresa is a very valued member of the District Attorney's Office, and I asked her to put this presentation together today. She put it together during the same time that she was trying 2 different jury trials here in York County, and so I thank her for multitasking in such an effective manner. And so that's pretty much what I got. So we're going to get started right now because we have a lot of information we want to put out. Our goal simply is to educate. So, Teresa, let's do it.
Thank you, Dave, for those very kind words. Can everyone hear me? Okay, if at any point I start talking too fast, if I am talking too loud or too softly, please let me know because I have a tendency to start running on, and then once I get started, we're never going to stop. All right, so the whole focus of this presentation is very broad strokes. We are going to go for the lowest common denominator of people who don't even know what Facebook is. Now, even if you think, oh gosh, I'm smarter than that, I understand those things, please don't leave. I'm asking that you stay because we're going to be going over a number of different social media platforms and websites that you may not be familiar with. So what I ask is that if you have any specific questions, please wait until the end of the presentation. It can even be something of the, hi, I have this app on my phone, please tell me what to do with it. I'm happy to help you with that, but I would ask that you wait until the very end. There will be some participation from the audience at certain points, but other than that, please, questions at the end. All right, so this presentation is presented by, of course, our wonderful fearless leader, District Attorney Dave Sunday, in addition with a number of other organizations. A lot of the source materials that we have here come from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Crimes Against Children Research Center, the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, also known as ICAC, Common Sense Media, Smart Social, Internet Safety 101, the Pennsylvania State Police, and other various social media platforms. You're going to hear me recite a lot of statistics, and you're going to be like, why are you telling me all of these statistics about all of these different users? The reason I'm doing that is because I want you to understand how actually prevalent all of these different apps are, not only within our community, not only within our country, but worldwide. We are now living in an age where our children have access to people all across the globe. And that is a wonderful opportunity to learn from a bunch of different cultures and experience wonderful and new things. But that also opens up a number of dangers that we have to be aware of and that we have to constantly be talking about and educating not only ourselves but our children as well about the different opportunities and dangers that are out there. A good chunk of this program was created through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I will refer to it as NCMEC. They have an organization and a website called NetSmarts. That's smarts with a Z. They decided to go Web 2.0 very early on, so please forgive them for that. I strongly recommend that at the end of this presentation, each and every one of you go check out NetSmarts, NETSMARTZ, because it has a number of different resources for both you and your children, regardless of whether they're preschoolers or whether they're teenagers. All right. So throughout this presentation, we're going to talk to you about the many different ways that you can protect your children online no matter how they access the internet. Kids go online through their school computers, their friends' computers, laptops and tablets, cell phones, MP3 players like the iPod Touch, e-readers like the Nook and Kindle, game consoles like the Nintendo Wii U, PlayStation 4, or Xbox One, including other handheld devices like the Nintendo 3DS and the PlayStation Vita. Although, if there's anyone here who actually owns a Vita, I'll be very impressed. As you are aware, the Central School District provides students from K through 8 with iPads. High school students are provided with laptops. Those devices have restrictive filters on them and software that limit what your children can access. Teachers go over a number of different topics based upon the students' grade levels. If you have specific questions about what your students are learning or what filtering software is on their devices, those are questions that are better left to Dr. Snell. I am not educated enough on them, so I recommend that you either ask Dr. Snell or speak with your children's digital age teachers. We are going to be more focused on the conduct that occurs outside of the classroom and at home. So technology changes all the time, and kids are constantly finding the newest websites, apps, and gadgets. And it's really up to you to teach them the basic rules of internet safety so that they can use it responsibly. So my question is for you, if I can see a show of hands, how many of you, either if you're a student or if you're a parent, how many people have smartphones? Yes, basically every single hand goes up here. So I think it's really important that we understand how much media and how much screen time our students are actually spending on these devices. And I have a very short video that kind of goes over that, which, again, some of you may have seen already.
My name is Alejandra, and I'm 13. And like on a daily basis, I go on my phone, like in the morning, and I'll check my Instagram, Snapchat, Kik, Twitter, Tumblr, Vine. I'll go to school, and I come back, and I'll go on Netflix, and I'll go to my room, and I'll listen to like Pandora, Spotify. I'll play my Xbox, like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty. And that's about it. If I would add up all the time that I use, I think I would spend about 7 to 8 hours every day.
May we help you?
When I'm on social media, I feel like I know what's going on. You know, you do feel a little connected and you know like what people are up to. Like, you know, I post pictures or videos. I'll like comment on stuff. I don't think I'm addicted to it, my phone. I think it's kind of a leash though. Because you always have to be on it. And, you know, when I hear a buzz, I'm like, oh, I have friends.
I'm Sasha, I'm 16 years old. Currently I have the Xbox 360, MacBook Pro laptop, the iPad, the old Xbox, a Samsung Galaxy smartphone, and the PlayStation 4. I like to play a lot of different video games on the console, on my PS4 when I get home, and I just, you know, veg out sometimes and play. I have, first-person shooter like Call of Duty or Battlefield, and we also have a baseball game that I've been playing. I absolutely think that there is an addictive quality to video games. Sometimes I'll just keep going if I really want to level up in a video game.
Usually when I do my homework, when I get home, I'll either come in my room, listen to music, or I'll go to the living room and watch TV while I do my homework. If I'm reading something and I get distracted from the TV, or I'll pause it, or I'll turn off the music, and I'll go through the problem again or whatever I'm working on, because I guess I was just a little distracted.
If I'm doing my homework on my laptop, I might be also having conversations with my friends, or intermittently checking my phone. Sometimes if I just get too bored of my homework, I might play Candy Crush or something. When I was younger, I could go much longer without using media, but when I'm in an environment that has a lot of media and all of my friends are on media, then I find it hard to kind of resist.
Is something that Toby will never understand.
Video that was produced by an organization called Common Sense Media. Common Sense Media is a San Francisco-based nonprofit organization that provides education and advocacy to families to promote safe technology and media for children. In 2015, they conducted a census for media usage of tweens and teens ranging from 8 to 18 with varied genders, ethnicities, and household incomes. The sample size was approximately 2,700. The entire report is actually really fascinating, although it's slightly out of date since we are now in 2018 and all of the usage has only gone up at this juncture. However, I strongly recommend that you go to Common Sense Media and you actually check it out. Here were some of the most notable figures. First, a survey found that a substantial number of tweens and teens consume between 2 to 8 hours of screen media on a daily basis. Given their prevalence, one of the most frequent objects that they were using to view all this media was their smartphone. Of middle-income households, 87% of homes had a smartphone, and 67% of the teenagers that resided there had their own smartphone. On average, teens who had their own smartphone spent 4 hours and 38 minutes, a day on that. And as you can see, that is a good chunk of time is actually spent on social media, because you can see it's approximately an hour and 52 minutes just on social media alone. So, when was the last time you asked your kids, hey, what are you doing online right now? Not the, hey, you're in trouble because you're supposed to be doing your homework, but hey, what are you looking at? What YouTube channels are you into? Are you learning how to make goo? I'm trying to remember what it is, exactly what it is. There's a lot of glitter, slime. There's a lot of glitter that's involved that makes a giant mess. There's glue. It's a problem. Right? Okay, so think about that. Think was the last time you actually took an interest in what your child was doing online. So I want you to ask yourself these questions right now in your head internally. How many of your children like to use social media apps like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Kik, and Snapchat? How many of them text or play games on your cell phone or on their own phones? How many of them use Google to help them with their homework? How many play computer games or end up utilizing a console like a PlayStation or an Xbox? How many are in a virtual world like Club Penguin Island? How many of them download music from iTunes? How many of them watch videos on YouTube? How many of them download apps from the App Store, the iTunes Apple Store, or Google Play? If you're asking yourself those questions, they're doing all of those things. Very frequently, they're doing them when you know about it, but sometimes they're doing it when you don't know about it. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through a number of very common applications and websites that are utilized. And it's interesting because of the adults that I've surveyed on and off while I've been making this, many people are like, oh yeah, I know what that is, I know what that is. What is that? So that is one of the reasons why we're going through all of these different things. While I can't go through every single one of these, again, I strongly encourage you to go to different resources that are out there, including NetSmart Tech Tips. They frequently have updated applications, what those applications do, and we can kind of go from there. So we're going to talk about the big four to begin with. Facebook. Everyone has Facebook. Very frequently, people have multiple Facebooks because that's one of the things you need to remember. There's no actual way to verify that you are the person you say to be on Facebook. You can use any sort of name you want to. You just need to have an email address. You enter a name. Facebook says, hey, we want to make sure that you're using your legal name. That's one of the terms of service. But How many people are using a nickname? How many things of that? It's one of the things that we need to talk to our kids about. The people you're interacting on Facebook, they may not be the people they purport themselves to be. There are 2.13 billion monthly users worldwide. There are 1.15 billion mobile users that access that app every single day. The way it works is you create a user profile, you create a name, you enter a email, and then users may update statuses, upload photos and videos, play games with associated apps. I was addicted to Farmville in law school. And you can stream live video with Messenger and Facebook Live. There's also the Messenger app and the Messenger Kids app. We're going to be going into those a little bit later. What is shared, it depends on the profile settings that you have. And you know what? Facebook is not that great about privacy settings. When you originally go to it, everything is set to public. And there are a couple of things that you can't change. So no matter what you do, your profile picture is public. You can never make that private. You can make your account private. You can only allow that to be shared with friends. And you know what? You can even determine whether your Facebook profile can actually be accessed via Google or another search engine along those lines. But that profile picture is always going to be public. If it is associated with your name, it can be seen. But there are lots of other things that you can control, and I strongly recommend that you go with your children into the privacy settings and think about what they're sharing. Are they sharing with friends of friends? Who else has access to it? Because I'm sure all of you have seen those memes where like, I want to show my kids how fast I can send this photo, whatever, across the world, and then people like it, and then all of a sudden it has a ton of likes, and then it ends up showing on news media somewhere, and then the kids are like, oh, I get it now. I can see how fast this actually spreads. Then there's Snapchat. Now, Snapchat has changed recently. It actually got an update in February of this year, and a lot of teens have started saying, ick, I hate this, I don't like using it anymore, but we're still going to be talking about it. It has 161 million daily users. Users under 25 visited over 20 times a day and spent over 30 minutes on Snapchat every day as of 2016. Works the exact same way. You create a user profile, it's associated with an email account, and users may send photos or videos, which are referred to as snaps, to friends or followers. You can also create stories, which are basically stitching a bunch of snaps together, and then they send in chronological order. You can utilize and create fun filters and lenses. Actually, I think that's what kids like about it most. They like the fact that you can turn into a puppy dog, or your eyes turn into does, or all of those other things. I was actually with a friend of mine who has a 2-year-old daughter, and she's like, I want to see, camera. So we take the camera, I hold it up, and then she got really upset because I didn't have a filter on it. It's sort of the way things work nowadays. So snaps used to be, you could set the amount of time they had before they ended up disappearing. Now the way it works is that once a message is read, it disappears. Once a story has been viewed, it disappears. As long as everybody who you've sent that snap to has seen it, that's when it goes bye-bye. And it ends up giving people a false sense of security because they think, okay, once I've sent this snap, after this person sees it, it's deleted. And that's not always the case. And people often forget that you can take a snapshot. Now, granted, Snapchat will tell you, hey, someone took a snapshot of your photo. They took a screenshot. But by then, it's too late. That's in someone else's hands. You can't really do anything about it. Now, and depending on the settings that you have, you can receive snaps from anybody. Instagram, 500 million daily users. Works the exact same way. You create a profile account, you have an email address, and users can upload and edit photos, upload and edit short videos, upload stories, or a series of uploads stitched together. Are you guys seeing a trend now? You can also message other users, and you can live stream videos. Now, posts are frequently organized and searchable using hashtags. So, for example, dogs of Instagram. That's what I use when I tag my dogs. And unless your profile is private, those posts are publicly visible. You can receive direct messages from anyone, even if you're not friends with them. If someone can find your profile, it doesn't even matter if your profile is private, someone can still send you a message. Now, it goes into its own special little inbox, and unless you check that inbox, you're never really going to see it. But that's one of those things that you have to talk to your kids about, because if they're going to be receiving messages and you don't know who it's coming from, that's still a way that someone can start communicating with you, and then they can friend them, and then that's how the conversation keeps going.
So we said people can use, say for example, someone can have multiple different Instagram usernames, correct?
That's correct.
And so for example, if you think that maybe your son or daughter does not have an Instagram account, they very well may have one in some names such as, DR Snell,
Yes.
or something of that nature. Like they could have any name in the world, right?
Right, and as long as that username is not taken, you can change your username. That doesn't change anything. So you can constantly be updating it and augmenting it. As long as that username is not taken by somebody else, you can change it. Again, Instagram is actually owned by Facebook. It is one of those things where they want you to be using your legal name, but there's no real way of enforcing it. Now, you can block individuals on Instagram. You can make profile posts private, which means that people need to send you a request first. And there's even a filter that would allow you to automatically block offensive comments, but you don't actually get to choose what that is. There's also anonymous reporting for live video. Then there's Twitter. 330 million monthly users worldwide. It is almost entirely mobile. It used to be that Twitter was accessible via a laptop. That was the main way people used it. Nowadays, it's almost entirely on your phones. Once again, you create a profile. You can post messages or tweets up to 280 characters because it's no longer 140. The tweets become part of a continuous stream called a feed. You can follow other Twitter users and their posts can show up in your feed. Tweets can be shared or they can be retweeted, and you can directly message other users. Again, once they are organized by hashtags, so that way you can search for something, for example, hashtag York. You can make your tweets private, so any followers must request you and be approved before they can follow you. Here's a big thing. You can delete tweets, but tweets take a while to delete. Also, they can be screenshotted, which is another thing you commonly see in the media. Someone says something stupid on Twitter, someone gets a screenshot of it, it never goes away, it doesn't die. I will say, however, that Twitter generally skews towards an older millennial crowd, with 36% of users being in the 18 to 29 range. All right, so why am I talking about the big four? So the people who are actually most interested in keeping track of these sorts of metrics are advertisers. So there's an organization called Piper Jaffray, and they do a survey biannually called Taking Stock with Teens. And it gathers an input from approximately 6,100 teens with an average age of 16. It looks at teen spending patterns, fashion trends, and brand and media preferences. Now, why am I showing you this? Because there's a very strong chance that your child has one, probably more than one, of these accounts, whether they tell you about it or not. So now we're going to start going to things you may or may not be familiar with. Messenger. 1.3 billion users worldwide. Messenger used to be an offshoot of Facebook. It used to be the thing where you pulled up your Facebook and then you could message people. It's now its own entire separate entity. You do not need a Facebook account to have a Messenger account. You end up creating it with a phone number or a name. And with an account, you can do all of this for free. You can send messages to other people. You can make audio and video calls. You can send photos, videos, voice messages, map locations. You can have group chats. You can send money. You can play games. So messages can be private if both users end up utilizing end-to-end encryption. That is something that you have to turn on. Once again, very similar to Snapchat, because again, it's owned by Facebook. You do not need to be friends with somebody in order to message them. Again, it goes into its own separate little Dropbox, and you may never even know that it's there, but your kids may, because you do get a notification for it. As you can imagine, given the fact that you can send money to people and be contacted by strangers, Messenger has a lot of possible problems when it comes to children. So that's why Facebook created this thing called Messenger Kids. This is a relatively new app. It was created in December of 2017. That's when it was launched. It was designed to be a safer alternative for parents. Basically, parents can go in, they can set up the account, they get to approve all of the different people that you are contacting, and it has the same features as Messenger. So text, video calls, sending photos and videos. It also has filters a la Snapchat, and it also permits children to search for appropriate gifts. So even though you can search for gifts on Messenger, certain things are limited, and you can also do stickers. Messages do not disappear, and they cannot be hidden. So if a parent is looking at an account and you're looking at messages sent, that seems like a safer alternative for people. Inappropriate conduct, such as bullying, can be reported via the app. Now, there are still a lot of children health advocates that have called for the app to be removed. One, because This is aimed, to be perfectly honest, as elementary school kids. Basically, Facebook is trying to get you addicted in and get you in there early. Now, that may be something that you decide as a family you like for that idea. You like the idea that you can set all of this up, that you can have them friends with grandma, grandpa, their brother and sister, and or even the people that you know that you've met at school and the other students that the kid interacts with. That is a decision that is up to you. One of the things, however, is that because this app is so new, we don't know a whole lot about any sort of security vulnerabilities or other ways it can be exploited. Then there's WhatsApp. WhatsApp was the premier texting app when it came out because it allowed people to send messages for free. It has 1.5 billion users worldwide, 1 billion daily active users. You create an account based upon your phone number. You don't need a password for it. You can send messages, you can make video or audio calls, you can send photos, videos, files, voice messages, and you can have group chats. Unlike others, no password is required. Messages and calls have end-to-end encryption by default. It also features a live location, which shows where you are contacting people from, and you have to turn that off. The share settings are set to public by default. One of the other things about WhatsApp is you can actually migrate this account from one phone number to another. They recently added two-step verification. Basically, that means that you get a code and you have to enter the code before you can utilize it, but that's only when you're transferring it from one thing to another. Discord. Discord is actually something that a lot of people aren't familiar with because it's mainly considered to be a gaming app. It is, for those of you who have been on AIM, and please tell me I'm not the only one who's been on AIM, it's basically very similar to an internet chat room. What folks do is that they set up a server. It runs through one of the user's computers. And when they have that server, they host the chat channel, there we go, and they have other users join. It's frequently associated with a bunch of video game platforms, and people utilize it when they're playing League of Legends, Overwatch, Call of Duty, that sort of thing. Users can send direct messages, send images and other files, friend other users, add security and verification levels on servers, and they can also limit offensive conduct by making sure that there's an admin that's checking in and be like, hey, you're being a jerk, you're banned. Tumblr. Tumblr is a big one. Tumblr is kind of weird because Tumblr is combining not only blogs but also social media. There are, as of late 2017, 402 million blogs. There are more that are being created every single day. And to be a user, you can have multiple Tumblr blogs. That doesn't change anything. So it's really popular with teens. In fact, it's more popular with teens than Facebook right now. Again, you create an account, you do it with a username, you do a password, and then you can send and post text, photos, GIFs, live videos, audio, web link, and everything else from your dashboard, which is basically the home page when you log into Tumblr. You can search for content based on hashtags with keywords. You can comment, like, and reblog. You can send messages to other users. Posts are public by default and cannot be changed via the mobile app. So if you're posting something from a mobile app, you can't change that, but you can do it if you're utilizing a desktop. Unfortunately, Tumblr has a couple of problems. It's frequently associated with inappropriate content for teen. There's a lot of pornography on there. There's stuff about self-harm. There's stuff about thinspo, which if you want to know what that is, I will tell you later. Then there's Musical.ly. If you are not a young lady between the ages of 13 to 24, you probably don't know what this is. Musical.ly is actually associated with another app called Lively, which allows you to live stream. Musical.ly was really created for people to have really fun videos in which they lip sync for about 15 seconds. There are a lot of different things you can do with it, lots of different filters. You can slow stuff down, and you can stitch multiple videos together. You can live stream, you can send and receive virtual gifts, you can sing duets with friends, you can participate in contests that the app actually provides, you can follow other users, and you can message other users. Kik. Kik is a thing that we run into a lot that is a problem. Now, Kik is one of those apps that has a very wide following. There are 15 million active monthly users. 57% of users are between the ages of 13 and 24. Once again, it's another way that you can message people for free. You create a user account with a name and username, but you don't have to have an associated phone number. You can send direct messages or a group chat. You can send photos, videos, and other content. You can actually utilize bots, like, for example, the NCAA. If you want to know what's happening with March Madness right now, you can ask what scores are, and you can video chat with other users. Then there are a number of third-party apps that allow you to promote your Kik profile. And Kik is unfortunately very commonly associated with child exploitation, and they're trying desperately to remedy that. In August of 2017, Forbes ended up doing a profile entitled "This $1 Billion App Can't Kick Its Huge Child Exploitation Problem," and the author was Thomas Fox Brewster. He and a number of other reporters ended up creating a handful of profiles in which they identified themselves as 13 and 14-year-old girls. They ended up joining 10 public groups, and shortly thereafter, the messages started rolling in. And the messages were from older males, and the messages often include full frontal nudity and or other genitalia. They ended up also using a third-party app that promoted their profile on Kik, and then within an hour they started receiving hundreds of messages from adult males showing full frontal nudity and genitalia. One of the other problems is that when user profiles get flagged, Kik doesn't automatically kick them. They stay on. Even if someone is facing criminal charges for various different things, they won't ban their profile. What they instead do is they recommend people block those users and flag offensive content. Now, Kik is actually trying to work with its image issue by utilizing a thing called PhotoDNA. PhotoDNA is a program that is a combination of a database of exploitive material that is contained at NCMEC, so child exploitation, child pornography, those sorts of things that are known. And PhotoDNA was created by Microsoft. Basically, what it allows you to do is it scans the content as it's coming in, and it determines whether it is known exploitative child pornography, and it flags it. However, Kik is still having a number of different problems. So Hangouts. Hangouts are as prolific as Google itself. It utilizes a Google account, which almost all of you already have. Users can do audio and video calls with up to 10 people. You can message other users and have screen shares. You can send photos, stickers, and emojis. There are a couple of there are different flavors of Hangouts, but I'll be perfectly honest, with the exception of Hangouts Chat, where you can send direct messages and create chat rooms. Kids aren't generally using this. This is generally something that's used by the older set. Google Duo. Google Duo was something that was created for Android users when they wanted to FaceTime their friends. If you have Google Duo, which works on either an iPhone or if it works on an Android, you can conduct video calls between mobile devices regardless of what platform they're on. It also permits users to send video messages, basically video voicemails. It's kind of cool. And it's basically Skype for a mobile device. Speaking of which, there's Skype. Skype is generally used by the older set. Skype has been around almost as long as the internet itself. It has 74 million users. They're predominantly older. You create an account with an email or a phone number, and you can send video or audio calls between users, call mobile or landline numbers for a fee, make international calls for a fee, conduct group calls, and you can even utilize it as a phone number. You can use call forwarding and a couple of other services with it. This is the one where there was not a single adult in my office who knew what this was. House Party. House Party was created in 2016. It currently has 20 million users and it's growing. 60% of those users are between the ages of 16 and 24. It is exclusively a mobile app. It works on both iOS and Android devices, and you create an account with an email and a password. The way it works is you can conduct video calls, or called rooms, with up to 8 other people. You can have multiple rooms at a time. Members can invite others, or strangers can enter the room. Basically, they're trying to recreate exactly what it sounds like, a house party. You can add friends based on the contacts that are in your phone. You can wave. There's a little hand emoji that you can click when you want to chat with somebody, and you can buzz them if you're trying to specifically get their attention, which creates a notification on their phone. Friends are notified when you open the app, but you can avoid by notifying them by ghosting. If you are under the age of 18, you know what ghosting is. If you're over the age of 18, you can come and talk to me. Rooms can be locked, so that way others cannot join, but again, their default is being open so anyone can join and anyone can see that there's currently a house party happening. Twitch. All right, Twitch is a live streaming app and site mainly to show people who are engaging in video games. It's super popular among the esport crowd. How many of you or your children play Minecraft? If so, raise your hand. Yeah, I was about to say, I was actually kind of expecting more. Minecraft streams are super, super popular on Twitch. Kids like to go on and see all the other cool stuff that other kids create, and they're like, oh, cool, I want to do that, and so that's how it all works. So you create a user account, although you don't have to create a user account to watch different streams, and then users can observe streams of other players, they can live stream their own gameplay, and they can chat with others while they're watching the stream. There aren't really any sort of parental controls aside from you can block them from going to the site or from downloading the app. Twitch has recently started expanding into other things, so for example, playing music, painting, cooking, and that sort of thing, but it's almost exclusively dominated by people playing League of Legends and Minecraft. YouTube. 1.3 billion people utilize YouTube. Teens and young adults consume 2.5 times more internet video than they do television. In order to access YouTube, you can do it without a user account, but if you want to comment or you want to post anything of your own, you do have to have an account. You can post your own content, you can live stream, you can comment on videos, and you can follow different channels. Parental controls are available via the web browser and also apps, and there's also YouTube Kids, but that has a number of different issues. I know that it's been very popular after the New York Times bio that ended up coming out in terms of, I think what's referred to as ElsaGate, in terms of various inappropriate videos that are coming out that are being accessed by children. We won't go into that too much. Again, I can ask you more about this, but your kids are generally not watching TV anymore. They're watching their favorite YouTube personalities. I have been asked before, what is a Markiplier? I've been asked before, what is a PewDiePie? There's also Smosh, Nigahiga, Bethany Moda, Zoella, Zadric Hall, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, Tyler Oakley, and so on and so forth. These are all really popular people. Your kids are probably watching them. I can almost guarantee you that if they're like a teenage boy, they love Smosh and they love Logan Paul. You should be talking to your kids about who your favorite YouTube personalities are because they like them. They think they're doing cool things. They want to emulate them. And so it's really important that you're talking to them about what they're doing, why you think they're cool. Then there's Reddit. Reddit might as well be a dinosaur in terms of the internet age. Reddit has been around forever. There are 2.5 million users, and there are 1.67 billion unique visitors a month. Reddit is one of those things where it's a web ranking posting service. So you can go onto Reddit and you can go and look at these different things called subreddits. My favorite one is Our Cute Elephant GIFs. It is a really good way to de-stress when you're watching an adorable baby elephant play in the mud. But you can create a user account and then you can basically create a post. You either write your own post, you can share links, you can share content, you can make comments, you can upvote or downvote depending on whether you like the post, comment, link, etc. And you can actively participate in things called Ask Me Anything. Very frequently, celebrities, presidents, other folks will end up doing this and they'll say, ask me anything, and then you get to ask people questions and it's super duper cool. It is built upon the idea of anonymity, and there is no way to verify someone's identity. Subreddits are generally moderated, but the site as a whole is very hands-off. They are not ones to restrict people based on offensive speech or content, so that's something where you really need to talk to your kids about it. Oh my God, we just talked about so many different things. I'm really confused and scared. Hey, help is out there. So any of the different apps that I've talked about today, any of the different apps that you're finding on your kids' phones, I can almost guarantee you that they have parent pages. If you go into Google or whatever your search engine of choice is and you enter Instagram parental guide, or if you enter anything else along those lines. By the way, folks, we will make sure that this is available on the York County District Attorney's Office page, so if you're desperately trying to take a photo of it, we're good, I promise you. That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, 100%. These will go through all the different changes that are happening with the various different social media profiles. It will talk to you about all of the different privacy concerns you have. And it will also go through all of the different things that you have in terms of adjusting things and what your kid may or may not be getting up to.
And I want to give Teresa just one moment to catch her breath. One thing, there's a comment I want to make that everybody needs to remember. You know, all these different apps and the internet and the different platforms and ways you can access it are not only ways that people communicate, but it's also a window into your family's personal life. And what I mean by that is we all spend time, we shut our blinds, you know, we lock our door at night. Well, there's another realm of security that must take place, and that is what's going on through the computers in your home. Sometimes we arrest and prosecute people who want to share information with us. And I had an individual who was a professional burglar, and he burgled hundreds of people all through York County, and he shared information with us. And one of the questions I asked him was, how do you choose a home? And one of his answers was, and this was before a lot of these apps, but his answer was Facebook. Because he was able to look on Facebook and see who's away on vacation. And oftentimes, it wasn't the parent who said, hey, you know, I'm away on vacation or we're leaving tomorrow, but maybe one of the kids that lives in the home would post, all right, guys, I'll be in Aruba for the next 5 days, or I'll be in the Poconos, or whatever. But through those comments on social media, he was able to see that the Murphy household was away for a week, and they were far, far away. And so that's just a comment. I want people to think about that as you go through your lives and as you go home and you're processing this information. If your security is not set up the way it should be, and the people in your home aren't prepared to make sure that it's that way, then you're truly just opening up a window to the world to see what you're doing, where you're at when you go there, and that's something that you don't want to do. So please keep that in mind as you go through. After tonight, when everybody goes home and says, how can I make my family safe on the internet, that's something that I really want you to think about. So, all right.
All right, so even though we've just talked about a bunch of different things in the context of them being apps, you need to remember that these are websites as well. Almost every single one of these you can access from a website. In fact, if you use a certain different emulator, you can access Snapchat from a computer. If you don't know what an emulator is, it's okay, don't worry about it. But this is something to remember, that even if you are checking your kid's phone, even if you're having a conversation about what applications, even if you have a linked account either on iTunes App Store or Google Play or something like that, and you can see everything that they're downloading, remember that these are websites too. Remember that apps can be downloaded and deleted over and over again, and it's really not going to show a whole lot on there unless you're doing a forensic examination of your kid's phone, which I really hope you are not. And again, while your child's device may be linked to that one family account, when you're downloading things, remember they can go and create their own. That's not something that they're limited to. Even if you're, you also have to remember, what are these kids accessing on their friends' phones? So due diligence does a lot, but what's really important is you need to be talking to your kids about what they're finding. Okay, so there are a number of different safety and security issues, and we're going to be going over inappropriate content, online privacy, sexting, online sexual solicitation, and cyberbullying. And again, we're going to be going over through really broad strokes. If you have any specific questions, please ask us at the end. All right, so it's important to be talking about these sorts of risks at every single age. When you're talking to younger children, you need to talk to them about netiquette, looking at inappropriate content, what to do about pop-ups or people who are asking for your passwords, and most importantly, not trusting everyone that you meet online and having them be suspicious or at least wary of people who are approaching them online. For tweens and teens, cyberbullying, sexting, posting personal information, TMI, and meeting offline are the really big ones. Now, I understand that Central also does a really good job. They are constantly having conversations with their students about it, but it is important that you are having conversations about this with your kids too. You can start having frank discussions with them in a way that is going to foster a lot of communication if you start now before there ends up being a problem. So let's talk about inappropriate content really quickly. So that would include pornography, excessive violence, hate speech, or risky or illegal behavior. And these are things that even if you do everything right, your kids are probably going to be running into. And one of the things that we are going to be talking about is pornography. In the United States, the average age that boys are exposed to pornography is the age of 11. I know that we frequently associate this with, guys who are in their teens or not thinking about it until later, but statistics shows on average it's 11. And there is a Dr. Gail Dines, who's a sociology and women's studies professor. The way that she put it is that porn is no longer the way it used to be, where you had to go to the store and buy a magazine. The internet gave pornography the 3 A's: affordability, accessibility, and anonymity. And in accordance with Google hit statistics, pornography sites get more unique visitors per month than Netflix, Amazon, and Twitter combined. It only comes second to YouTube in terms of hits. So one of the things that you need to remember is you need to be talking to your kids about it, and we're certainly not going to tell you how to do that. We're certainly not going to tell you what you should be saying to your children, but it is important that you talk to them about pornography. You can talk to them about it in any way, shape, or form possible, but it's important to have that conversation. And frequently what you should be talking about is, when you are talking about pornography, that it's not realistic. There have been a number of different studies that show that pornography has the following effects on adult adolescent male. It decreases academic performance, it increases risky sexual behaviors, it increases sexual preoccupations, sexual fantasy about hardcore activity, use of violent sexual contact, and sexual dissatisfaction. It enforces the idea of women as sex objects, and it also creates negative gender attitudes and enforces a preoccupation with sexual coercion. And it also creates a number of body issues for both boys and girls, because they have unrealistic expectations of what they think they should look like, how they think they should be acting, and the dynamics that they should be having with other people. So there's a concept that's referred to as sexual imprinting, or basically determining what sex entails, and that happens in the early teen years. There's an excellent paper that discusses a wide variety of research of the impact on pornography on adolescents. It's called, surprisingly, The Impact of Internet Pornography on Adolescents, a Review of Research, that is done by E.W. Owens et al., and it is a very broad discussion of different things. I would encourage you to review all of those different studies and figure out what is the best way to approach that with your children. The long and the short of it is that your children are going to be exposed to pornography, and some of it is really graphic stuff. And it's probably going to be exposed much earlier than you imagine. So I would strongly encourage you to all watch Growing Up in a Pornified Culture. That's a TED Talk that is done by Dr. Dines to get a better sense of it. But once again, it is not our place to tell you how you should be having these conversations. We're just encouraging you to do so. So when you are having these conversations, don't immediately freak out, because that is just going to make them feel shameful and it's going to want to hide. In fact, they're probably going to have a really hard time talking about it because it may be scary stuff for them. So instead, try to listen attentively, try to ask open-ended questions, talk to them and remind them that it is not their fault. And when they have questions, try to answer them in the best way possible. The other thing that's really important is you should be helping them report it, flag this content, end up notifying whatever different platform they found this on, and be like, hey, this is not great for my kid to be looking at this. What they should be doing, and this is the steps that you should be running down when you have younger children, if they see any inappropriate content like that, tell them to turn off the screen, tell them to use the back button, tell them to tell a trusted adult, or again, report it to the website or app with your assistance. Really big thing is talking about don't posting. So it's one of those things when you're a native digital denizen like myself, where you end up growing up with it, but you don't really know what the consequences are. You don't know how long it ends up staying on the internet, because even when you end up posting something, it stays there forever, because you never know who else saw it, who else took a screenshot of it. So it's really important to talk to your kids about not posting inappropriate or illegal behavior, offensive language, threats of violence, underage drinking or drug use, or hate speech. And we have a video called 2 Kinds of Stupid for you, if it works. Or not. Sorry, guys. This is also available on NetSmarts. I would recommend that you end up watching it. Basically, the long story short is that it is important to remember that when you end up posting this, you don't necessarily know who's going to share it, who's going to notify whom. One of the other things that you need to remember, students, is that a number of colleges end up searching your social media profiles. A lot of jobs end up doing a Google search on you very generally. And if they find something that doesn't jive with what they like or what they think is appropriate, you're not going to get that acceptance. You're not going to get hired. So instead, parents, what's really important is you should be talking about them by setting expectations for online behavior. Let them know exactly what you find to be unacceptable. For very young children, this may be limited to the websites they are allowed to go to and for how long. But for older children, it might include what websites and apps they can use, how long they can use them for, who they talk to and post for, so forth. It's also important to talk about setting consequences for inappropriate posts. Remind them that they can also face consequences at school and then also with law enforcement. Talk to them about appropriate usernames. This is especially true for younger children who play in virtual worlds or any children who play in games online. Usernames shouldn't contain offensive language or violate the game's rules. Review comments and pictures. Check out what they're posting and ask them to take down anything inappropriate. Talk to them about what their friends are posting. Sometimes what your children's friends post can reflect poorly upon them too, so it's important to look at the friends' post and figure out what is needed. All right. Online privacy. I know that this is one of the things that people talk about ad nauseum. I will go through it really quickly. Talk to your kids about what is appropriate to share online and what is not appropriate to share online. So for example, it's okay to share, pictures of friends and family as long as you're doing it with permission. You can have casual conversation with someone in a game. But if someone is asking you for your name, your address, your date of birth, your social security number, anything else along those lines, you don't want to be sharing that with them. That includes passwords, that includes where you're located. Even if they're just asking you, hey, drop a pin in this app so I can figure out where you are. Tell them that you don't want to be doing that. Make sure that you're not giving out your parents' cell phone numbers, anything else along those lines. Because what happens? Then you end up putting yourself at risk for identity theft, online scams, and hacking. I know there have been a number of different stories in which kids are giving up this information and credit cards are being opened up in their name, and before they even hit 18, they have abysmal credit scores and they're never able to get a loan or do anything else along those lines because they're going to be digging themselves out of a hole even though they don't even know what a credit card is yet. All right, again, what you can do is you can establish rules about what they can share, you can learn about reporting options, you can help them set privacy settings, help them create strong passwords, and talk to them about friend lists. Here's another big thing, sexting. In addition to being careful about what kind of information they post, you want to make sure that your children are being careful about the images that they share. Sexting is when teens send or post nude or partially nude images, generally done with their smartphone. In a study that was conducted in 2015, it showed that only 2.5 teens have sex. That kind of seems low to me. And 7% say they have received a text. Now the question is, why are they sexting? Okay, sometimes people are doing it to be funny. Sometimes they're doing it to impress a crush, or sometimes they're doing it because they want to share something with their boyfriend or girlfriend because they think that they've gotten to that point. But one study found that teens who engage in sexting are more likely to be engaged in other risky sexual behaviors, including unprotected sex. This suggests that sexting is part of a pattern of risky behaviors that certain teens engage in. And we hopefully have another video. And please don't make fun of the fact that the phones are super, super old in this video.
I'm Sam Ass. again?
You know I'm sneaking out. It's too early, are you?
Alright, nah.
9:15.
Alright, I heard it was 2 a.m. Hey, check this out. Yo, what up? Whoa! Oh man! Yo, send that to me real quick. I'm not gonna. Come on, send that to me.
Man, you a pimp.
Yo, you
Let me pull it up full screen. Look at that, boys. Check that out, boys. I gotta. I had to send this to Mark.
Send that out now.
Okay, so the video is a little bit dramatic, but it gets the point across. Because here's what it comes down to. When you end up sharing that image with somebody, you literally have absolutely no control of where it goes from there. And I understand that the video ends up focusing, and to be perfectly honest, when it comes to sexting, there's a lot of focus on young women because they feel like they're the ones who are being pressured to do it. You want to know who ends up sending the most sex? It's boys. And I can tell you exactly what they're sending a photo of. So, this is something that you need to have a conversation with, not only with your daughters, but with your sons, in terms of A, it is inappropriate to be asking these things. B, there are a number of different consequences that are faced when you end up sending sex. There's the humiliation at home, at school, or online if the image ends up spreading. You can get bullied by peers. Sometimes it's so extreme that teenagers don't want to go to school. There's blackmail by someone threatening to distribute earlier sexting images if they don't send more. There's suspension or expulsion at school or losing a spot on school sports teams. I'll let Dr. Snell, this is a very general discussion. I don't know if that's the applicable thing here. And then there's police involvement, depending on how old the parties are. If one party is over the age of 18 or is 18 and the other one's under, you're in for a whole lot of trouble. So again, talk about the consequences. Even show them this video, and then when they're like, Mom, Dad, again, talk to them about once you send that photo, they don't have control over it anymore. But I really end up trusting that person. Okay, it's fine that you trust them, and that's good. And it's good to have conversations about that trust. But you need to also remind them that they may be with someone else, just like it was in that video, and they may get peer pressured into doing something that ends up sharing it. Tell them that it's really important that even if they receive a sexting message, they stop. Prevent that cycle from continuing to go on. Have them reporting it to someone else, either in their school or a parent or something else along those lines. Prevent that image from spreading. Have a discussion about what healthy sexual relationships entail. Tell them that it's not appropriate to be pressured into sending images that you don't think are appropriate. And talk about the ways that the image can be spread online. Also report it to the school's, your child's school or the police if you know a child is being blackmailed, a photo is being passed around without the consent of, or if the child is being bullied. Ignoring the situation will not help the child in the photo. You can even make a tip to NCMEC or also the cyber tip line, which is at cybertipline.org. Right. Sexual solicitation. Again, it is natural for children to be curious about sex, but unfortunately there are a number of people who are going to try to take advantage of this natural curiosity to make inappropriate sexual requests or solicitations. Sexual solicitation is an unwanted request to engage in sexual activities or talk, or any sexual request by an adult. Sexual solicitations are considered to be aggressive if the requests continue in actual or attempted offline contact through mail, telephone, or in person. So how does solicitation occur? The majority of sexual solicitations and aggressive solicitations occur among older teens. Most teens are solicited by their peers or young adults in a very casual way and report not being very bothered by it. Many of them simply remove themselves from the situation by blocking the person who sent the inappropriate request, asking them to stop, or simply leaving the site. According to Internet Safety 101, a multimedia internet safety resource designed by parents, 1 in 7 kids received a sexual solicitation online. In 82% of online sex crimes against minors, the actor used a social networking site to gain information about the victim. 56% of minor victims were asked to send a picture. 27% of the pictures were sexual. 14% of the students in 10th through 12th grade have accepted an invitation to meet an online stranger in person. Some of those same students have invited an online stranger to meet them. So, although most teens aren't actually bothered by sexual solicitations, there are cases that lead to dangerous online relationships with predatory offenders. In these cases, the offenders begin to play on the children's vulnerabilities by offering them affection and attention. This manipulative process is referred to as grooming. They entice children by exploiting their natural curiosity about sex, lowering the child's inhibitions by gradually introducing explicit images and child sex abuse images, using his or her adult status to influence and control a child's behavior, and offering them gifts like cell phones and gift cards. Here are some of the signs that you should be looking for in your child. You should check to see if your child is receiving unknown gifts through the mail, like bus tickets, cell phones, webcams, also clothing, makeup, other things that they didn't order and you didn't order. Calling unknown numbers, rejecting family and friends in favor of spending time online, getting upset when he or she can't get online, minimizing screen or turning off the monitor when you go into the room. If you're seeing any of these signs, don't ignore them. Please talk to your children. Check out what they're doing online and who they're talking to. Get help immediately if you suspect something is wrong. Here's the good news, bad news scenario. The good news is that grooming is not what it once was. A lot of child predators would end up dumping a massive amount of time, resources, and energy in order to create that relationship. However, because social media has become so prolific at this point, if a child is basically saying no from the get-go, the predator writes them off and goes on to the next one, because there are so many of them out there. So by taking that initial step, you can really help your child by having these conversations with them. There are several things you can do to keep your child safe from predatory offenders. Again, talking to your child about sex and relationships. Talk to them about what makes a healthy relationship. Have an open door policy so that it will not seek answers or inappropriate relationships online. Keep in mind that many teens are flattered by the attention of older people. Make it clear that a 22-year-old flirting with them is not flattering, it's inappropriate. This kind of conversation can even start with young children. Talk to them about what is okay to talk about online and what is not okay. Set a policy about meeting offline for older teens. If you're not comfortable with it, then tell them they are not allowed to meet online friends in person. If you think it's okay, then establish rules to make it safer. Suggested rules would include getting your permission before going to the meet, go with you or another adult, meet in a public place and don't leave. Know who your child's friends are online. Encourage them not to accept friend requests from anyone they don't already know. Ask questions that they have about people on their friends list, such as, how did you meet, or what do you talk about? Keep in mind that some of these offenders will use the internet to target minors that they already know. If someone your child knows contacts them online, they should check with you before responding. Teach your child the warning signs. Talk to them about grooming and ways people may try to manipulate them. Above all, contact the police if you suspect that your child is having an inappropriate conversation or relationship online. You should also file a report with the website or the app if you've seen these conversations. Last thing we're going to talk about tonight is cyberbullying. You can make a report to NCMEC, the Children's Cyber Tip Hotline. They will review the information that you provide, and they will send it to local, state, or federal law enforcement agency as best as they can handle the case. Contact them if anyone sends your child photos or videos containing obscene content. Anyone asks your child to send sexual images. Ask anyone if they speak to your child in a sexual manner, and ask anyone if they want to meet your child in person. All right, so bullying and technology, cyberbullying. How many of you have heard about cyberbullying? If so, raise your hand. Okay, good. All right. Cyberbullying is exactly what it sounds like, bullying through technology like cell phones, social media, and online games. Research tells us that about 25% of middle and high school students have been cyberbullied. About 16% of them have admitted to being cyberbullied. Youth who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or questioning are more likely to be involved both as a victim or as a bully. Examples of cyberbullying include sending mean texts, photoshopping pictures, creating fake profiles, posting fight videos, spreading rumors and gossip, posting embarrassing photos, or sending threatening or harassing comments. I don't know how well you can see that, but over half of adolescents and teens have been bullied online. Based upon the iSafe Foundation, this is an older research study that was conducted. I believe it was conducted in 2014. Of them, you can see how many of the users through the various different social media profiles, including WhatsApp, Viber, Skype, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and how many of them have been bullied. So again, bullying is very different from when you and I were in school because cyberbullying spreads faster, it has a wider audience, and it follows children home. All of these can undermine your child's sense of security. If they don't feel safe at school because the cyberbullies are frequently classmates and other peers, and they don't feel safe at home because the bullying is happening 24/7 online. So as you can see, cyberbullying can have a tremendous impact on children. That's why it's so important for you to have an understanding of the issue. To combat cyberbullying, you need to know who is involved, and the major players are obviously the cyberbully, the victim, and the bystander. Your child may fall in at least one of these categories, sometimes more than one, because many children who are cyberbullied are also will cyberbully others. They have also probably been bystanders at one point. So let's talk about how to address that with your children. If your children is being cyberbullied, look for the following signs. If they stop using their computer or cell phone, remember back to that close to 4.5 hours that they're spending on social media and their screen devices. If that goes down, that's something to be aware of. They act nervous when they're receiving an email, a direct message, or a text. They seem uneasy about going to school, and they seem withdrawn from their friends and family. If you see any of these signs, you need to have them feel like they can talk to you and that we will take the problem seriously and that you're going to do something to help them. So how do you help? You can consider saving the evidence. One of the things that we run into in the district attorney's office more frequently than not is that people delete the messages. If it's really bad, please, for the love of everything, take screenshots. Please take screenshots if you are having your child cyberbullied and it's getting to the point where it's becoming harassment. Because if you delete them, it becomes much harder for us later on down the line. Another thing that you can do is you can block cyberbullies. You can help your kids set up new accounts so that way they aren't as easily accessed. You can talk to the school and you can report it. Finally, remember that you need to be taking your child seriously. Don't use phrases like kids will be kids. Bullying can be very painful. Comfort your child by offering support and understanding. The other thing that's really important, and this is the thing that people forget about, you need to look out to see whether your kid's being a cyberbully, and frequently we get defensive about that by the people that we know, and if you're like, my child would never cyberbully someone, they may feel like they have to, they may be peer pressured into it, so you need to be looking for these signs as well. If you're seeing your child quickly switching screens or closing programs, if they're using their computer at all hours, if they get unusually upset when they cannot use the computer, or if they're laughing excessively while online, if they're avoiding discussions about what they're doing when they're on their devices, or they have multiple online accounts, these are all signs that they are engaging in cyberbullying behavior, and it's at that point you need to be getting involved with them and you need to talk to them. Again, the way to prevent all of this is to establish expectations for online behavior and set consequences for cyberbullying. This will vary by your family and you can decide what is appropriate, but losing internet privileges or having more supervised internet usage frequently helps. Also, it's really important to model good online behavior. Even when we get upset when we see something and we get into a heated discussion in the Facebook comments about this, that, or the other thing, generally something political or about what someone did to someone else's house, please also be a good internet citizen and make sure that you are modeling the same online behavior you want your kids to be using. Last thing is really important, talk to your kids about not being a bystander. If they see something else that is going on, you need to set the expectation that they should be reporting this as well. Help them encourage them by standing up for the victim, and also help them report cyberbullying. Again, have them do it on the platform that they're utilizing, have them do it at school, or if it is bad enough, have them do it to law enforcement. Okay. So there are a bunch of different tech options in terms of what you have at your disposal in terms of filtering software, monitoring software, and that sort of thing. I'm going to be perfectly honest. There's a ton of stuff out there. A single Google search will frequently show your kids how to get rid of it or how to find it. So the best way to end up addressing all of these issues is to be having frank and honest conversations about the expectations that you have and what are the good things they should be engaging in when they are both online and offline. You can consult your cell phone provider. You can also look at different options on all the different mobile devices and the different apps. Again, we'll show you the parental controls. We'll make sure that's up on our Facebook page. Make sure you're looking at the individual apps, figuring out what they're doing, and you can look into built-in security features. So here's the last thing, and if you take nothing away from this, this is what I ask you to do. When you go home tonight, ask your kids what they're doing online. Ask them what they're into. What is their favorite app? Who do you talk to when you play games? What kind of pictures do you like to post? What is your favorite filter on Instagram? Or what is the favorite filter you like to do on Snapchat? Discuss these things with your children regularly so you know that they're available and that you have an open mind. If you set these parameters now, it's going to be easier for them to come to you when something goes wrong. You may not be able to protect them from everything, but you can teach them how to make responsible choices when they encounter a problem. Once again, I've discussed this webpage ad nauseum. There's a bunch of different resources and other things like that on netsmarts.org. I strongly encourage you to go there. And with that, if you have any questions.
And real quick, I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Assistant District Attorney Howdigi. You did a fantastic job, and I appreciate the presentation that you put together. I just want to make sure that everybody knows, because I was watching a lot of the faces throughout this presentation, and there was a lot of, and what? And so, you need to know that you are not alone in this fight. And so what I mean by that is there are a lot of people you can turn to if you have questions. And if anyone has any specific questions, a lot of people don't want to ask it in this forum or this venue, and I understand that. You can go to the York County District Attorney's website, and you can email our office if you have a specific question, if you just want to talk to a detective, if you have a question for Teresa. You can email us, and we'll do the best we can to get back to you with the answer if we have it. And I think that's important because I don't want you to leave here tonight saying, well, that was unbelievably daunting. I now am angry. I'm angry because I don't know what's going on. And, go home and pepper your kids with, we need to go through the following right now. Because they're going to look at you like you're crazy, and then they're going to outsmart you, and you're not going to know what's going on. So that being said, please know you can contact us. We'll do what we can to get you answers. If there's things that weren't even addressed tonight that you want to talk about, feel free to. And with that being said, does anyone have any questions at all about anything?
In Pennsylvania or on a federal level? All right. So I can tell you right now on the federal level, they're trying to keep up, but unfortunately the law is it's an old lumbering dinosaur. It tries to keep up, and the legislature does the absolute best that it possibly can, and there are certain changes that are made, but it is a very slow process. However, we do have a number of different tools that we can utilize to make sure that you and your kids are safe.
Yep. And that's an excellent question because, this is one of those issues that we can't expect to be fixed through the legislature. And one of the reasons for that is a lot of things that are happening on the internet aren't happening here. I mean, they're far, far away. And, it's very difficult for legislation to keep pace with people that are very savvy with, the internet and social media. So, yeah. Any other questions? Anything? In the back, yep. That's correct. It will be available as a link on, do we know where, Kyle? Okay. So on the York County District Attorney's Office website, there's a newsroom section, and under the newsroom section, there will be a link to this presentation. Yep. I probably should have told you that in the very beginning. Okay. Yep, thank you very much. Yep.
Sure. Sure. Unfortunately, that is a really technology-specific question. It depends on your phone. It depends on the apps. It depends on a bunch of different stuff. So you and I can have a conversation after this. Maybe is the long and the short of it.
I do like where your mind's at, though. And yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure. And keep in mind, like, I mean, we're certainly not suggesting how anyone, should parent their children, because that's, certainly your purview and it's up to you. And as a father, I expect, I'm going to, raise my son the way that I feel is appropriate. I will tell you, as a prosecutor over the years, one of the things that I have seen repeatedly I've seen parents who, at the time where they thought something bad was happening, they said, well, you know what, I'm not going to do this because my teenager deserves privacy. Okay? And I've had a lot of those parents with that attitude come back later after something unfortunate may have occurred and wish they could have went back in time and were nosy or aggressive and looked through everything. I mean, dating myself, I came back, I remember when I was in the Navy, I remember when I got out of the Navy, I came home, and after being discharged, I got home and I had a younger brother. And I came home and I was like, hey, younger brother, it's good to see you after 4 years. What are you doing? And he's talking to my buddies. And I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what he was doing. And he's like, well, I'm instant messaging right now. And here's all my friends in my chat room. And I was 22. I was blown away. I'm like, this is amazing. I was in the Navy, we couldn't do this. And and my parents had no idea what he was doing, I can tell you right now. And so the takeaway is, I would suggest, from my experience with parents where bad things happened, they all wish they could have went back and went into the room and dumped the drawers and went into the closet and went into the car and went into the phone. So, God forbid something bad should happen. My recommendation, for what it's worth, is, it's your home, it's your cell phone, you own it, and go through it. So, right? I saw another hand right behind you.
Again, there are a number of different software solutions, and it really just depends on what sort of protection or what sort of involvement you feel like you need to have with your kids. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Again, I strongly encourage all of you to go out and research the different options that you end up having, and then sort of go from there. Yes? Oops.
again, we talk about it at a young age, but it's hit very hard in 7th and 8th grade. And again, through high school, they all reiterate, be careful, be smart, don't do that, don't do this. And you know, they have their devices out and they're live streaming and doing anything, you see them as well. So we get that very hard in the middle school. Back there?
This is I guess, a legal question. Are there legal ramifications for parents for what their children do on social media under the age of 18? For certain issues.
I'll save you on this one. Well, first of all, you know, there's multiple answers to that question. And the reason I say that is because it all depends on the specific behavior. And it's funny you asked that question because you actually, there's a story I was going to tell, but then I chose not to, but you just asked a question, and so, you know, you kind of opened the door for me. But, I mean, there are certain things that can occur that a parent could be part of that could result in criminal prosecution. And there's other things that they certainly wouldn't be. And I'm just going to give you an example, and it probably, so there are kids out there who believe that if they order illegal substances on the internet, that because those illegal substances were manufactured or maybe grown in another state, that they can do that, and that's perfectly fine. And, you know, we've had circumstances where, for example, parents may have been maybe hypothetically aware that their son or daughter were ordering illegal substances from another state, maybe towards the West Coast, on a regular basis, okay, and they aided their children in doing that. That makes them a conspirator. Okay, they knew it was happening. They actually assisted in it. And so they were aware of that criminal conduct that was taking place. Now, that is the far spectrum. That is all the way as far as you can go in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is there are other situations where, you know, a juvenile may be doing something online that the parent has absolutely no idea. And so under the law, under our criminal laws in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you know, you have to have some form of knowledge about that crime that's occurring. And so with that being said, if a parent has no clue what their kid is doing online, under most circumstances, and I'm answering this in a very lawyerly way, okay, so if someone goes back and looks at it, they can't say, well, actually, you said I could do this. The reality is, under most circumstances, you know, if a parent has no idea what their kid's doing, then it's not going to be an issue. There are certain circumstances where maybe a parent is aware that their child, well, I don't want to get into details on that, so I'm going to skip that. But yes, it depends on the situation. I hate to answer it like that, but every lawyer you ask a question sort of like that, you're going to get the it depends, because it truly does. And also to go back to my sample story I was giving, it may not be a shock to everyone, but you cannot order illegal drugs online and ship them from a state where it's legal to here. Okay, just putting that out there. So, all right. Anything else? If there's any questions, yes.
And I'll be honest, I don't think there ever will be. And actually, you're being a really savvy user from doing that, because one of the things you should always be paying attention to is if your app is updated, check your privacy settings. When you update your OS on your phone or something like that, check your privacy settings. A lot of times they'll set them to the factory default, and the reason they do that is so that they can get more information on you, so they can advertise to you. Yeah, Big Brother is totally through third-party companies and things like that. It's not the government, I can tell you that right now. But there isn't right now, and I don't think there ever will be, because it is a private corporation, and they're sort of setting the rules about what's going on. And when you end up utilizing all these different applications and things, you're entering into a contract with them, and they get to set all the rules as a result. So there may be a class action suit at some point later on down the line, but there's not going to be any sort of law that would prevent that.
All right, well, with that, last question. We'll stick around for a little bit if anyone has any specific questions they want to ask. I don't know if Dr. Snell has anything you want to say, but I just want to, again, thank you everybody for coming. This is great. This is the first one of these we put on, and I can't be more ecstatic with your care and concern for being here. Thank you, Dr. Snell, for hosting us. Thank you to the members of the school board who are here in support of this endeavor. Thank you, Police Chief Dan Stump. Everybody is sad they don't see you in their living rooms anymore.